Hey guys, so I wanted to get on the subject of single mothers or black single mothers, the black single mother hate train that you hear a lot about. You hear a lot of people in the black community, particularly, that are on this hate train. A lot of guys, and in the beginning, or at least when I first saw videos that were made talking about black single mothers and how trifling they are and how toxic they are, I thought it was kind of unfair because, there are a lot of different ways a person can be, a single mom. They could maybe the dad died, or maybe they're divorced, and maybe stuff just didn't work out between the two of them. So I would always find myself defending single mothers because I myself is divorced. And so I thought that the single mother, or the black single mother in particular, hate train was people just coming against the circumstance of being a single mother. And I really didn't take a closer look into like the actual toxic traits that came with the circumstance of being a single mother. I just, my rebuttal has always been, well, at least she's present, at least she's there, at least that, and at least this. But this one particular TikToker, she's called the Whistleblower, I think, spiritual whistleblower, I believe. And she did bring up a lot of good points about toxic parenting, and I just wanted to kind of expound on what she was talking about. She was talking about, well, parents that talk about you behind your back, pit their kids against each other. I've seen that before. That happened with my parents and my grandparents. But if you're one of the kind of mothers, just to expound on what she was saying, if you are one of those kind of moms that likes to have like parties every day, or like an open door policy where people in the neighborhood can just walk into your house, and just come in and sit down. Just people from the neighborhood. They just sit down. People come over, sit down and talk and smoke and drink and loud music, play loud music. And like don't really care about how it may affect your kids, like emotionally. You just feel like, well, we're all grown and the kids are just going to have to accept it and stuff like that. That's kind of toxic. That's a toxic trait. Because, for one thing, your kids can't sleep. They can't concentrate. Even if you're one of those type of people that take your kids and just put them out and just send them over to their dads or their grandmas, just so that you can get together and party and stuff like that. That's fine. At least you don't do it in front of the kids, but it does affect them emotionally. And so a lot of people who have like these have a disdain for like black single mothers, a lot of them grew up like that, in houses like that, where they can't concentrate on their homework, they can't get the rest that they need, they can't have access to you because you're entertaining all the time, or they're at their grandma's, so they really can't talk to you about different things that they need to talk to you about, and you're unreachable. A lot of people that they can harbor resentment for that reason. And I get it. A lot of people have different reasons for wanting to have get-togethers and wanting to entertain. Maybe the mom feels like, well, I'm just getting together with friends and to blow off steam and party and stuff like that. I worked all week and I'm tired and I want to have fun. Because a lot of times the mothers are still young too. But it's the excessive partying and the excessive smoking and the excessiveness of that kind of behavior that could lead to problems in the child, like emotional problems or abandonment issues with the kids. And by black people not generally being big on mental health, they themselves, the parent or the child, don't really realize how badly or how deeply they were affected by that kind of stuff until they're adults. Sometimes the parents will even like let the kids come downstairs or join the party and join in, and they'll do all these little sexualized dances and twerking, and the boys will do like this little sexual kind of dances, and the parents will like be like hollering, hey, kind of like, letting them, hyping them up and encouraging that. The parents don't really realize that it's affecting the innocence of the child. or affecting how they turn out as adults. And a lot of parents will think that it's cute for kids to behave like little adults with the little head rolling, neck rolling kind of thing, the little smart mouth, the attitude, putting the hands on the hip and telling you what they think of you or whatever in an adult context. And some parents will think it's cute at first because they got the little baby voices and they'll talk in these little cute little baby voices and they'll be cussing or something, and parents will laugh because a lot of kids, well, most of the time, most kids take on the mentality of the adults. So like if you are a nerd, like a nerdy introvert adult, a lot of times your kids will kind of be like you are. Some of them, or most of them, 9 times out of 10, they'll be like you are. They won't really have that sassiness or something. But even sometimes kids will take that same sassiness to school and talk back to their teachers, and then you'll get all these different complaints and you're looking at the teacher like, well, what's wrong with you? She's just expressing herself or something. Or you don't tell my child nothing. I'll tell my child when to sit down, or I'll tell my child what to do. Or you don't tell my kids to go to bed, and you don't tell me how to raise my kids. That'll be the adult's attitude. They'll come at the other adult who's trying to tell you, hey, look, this kid is disrespectful. You need to like check that shit. And a lot of parents won't really think that it's anything wrong with it until they get to be adults. And then I've heard a couple of women say before, black women who are single moms, I don't want my kid to be a street N-word. I don't want my kid to be out here in the street doing street stuff. But then you encourage them to dress like adults. You encourage them to partake in adult activity. You do nothing when they curse or when they like sing along to explicit lyrics to like Sexy Red or somebody. You don't do anything. You don't see them. You see them holding cell phones and got gold chains and little chains around their neck and sitting like adults and acting like adults when they should be somewhere playing with Barbie dolls or something like that. Like I've heard adults say that too. You should be playing with your little Barbie dolls. You should be outside running around being a kid. But you have to understand as a parent, you have to push them toward that. You have to shelter them from that kind of thing. Like my parents sheltered us a lot. My parents really didn't want us around certain kids because my parents knew that those kids had that kind of mentality. They wanted to fight all the time. They wanted to touch girls' booties all the time. They dressed in an adult way. They wore the little gold chains and had the little neck rolling kind of attitude. They said whatever without any filter. They would cuss, and they would be running around the neighborhood ripping and tearing up and starting shit. They always wanted to fight. Nobody ever wanted to be a kid and play and share and have good like social skills. And nobody understands that until the kid gets older. Now that they're grown and they have a little bit of size on them, that shit ain't cute anymore. And now, as adults, they realize that they have difficulty navigating the world, relating to other people. That hood mentality only is good for socializing in the hood. It's not good for anything else. AAVE is not good or useful on a job. Nobody's going to interview you and say, are you fluent in AAVE? Great, you're hired. Nobody's going to say that. Nobody's going to say, oh, I love how you dress. That shit is not good for anywhere else but the hood. AAVE, gold chains, the hood way of dressing is not good or not useful anywhere else but in social settings, some social settings in the hood. Or, you can take your style of dress elsewhere, but, the AAVE and the mentality is what I'm talking about. And if you're one of those kind of mothers that'll drop your kids off with their grandmother, like I used to have a video on my channel about Granny's Revenge. It was like a little funny, satirical little video where I was talking from Granny's perspective. It was just a fictional story time that was meant to be funny, make you laugh, but it didn't really fit my channel, so I took it down. Maybe I'll put it back up, but what I'm talking about, if you're one of those kind of moms that just drop your kids off with the grandma and you leave them there for days at a time, and they didn't know they were going to be there for days at a time, and neither did grandma, and you're the only one that knew that you were going to leave them there for days at a time, and grandma's calling and they're calling and they can't get a hold of you, and the kids can't get a hold of you either, and you're just partying and doing your thing. That's toxic as fuck. A lot of black single mothers do that shit and they don't think anything of it. They feel like the kids are safe, they're with grandma. I'm gonna go out and do my thing. I'm tired of the kids. Their daddy ain't shit, so I'm gonna take some time. Grandma will be all right, the kids will be all right, but they're really that causes abandonment issues. Also, if you're the kind of mom that like gets evicted all the time, like you're on Section 8 or whatever, and you don't pay your portion of Section 8, and you and the kids have to, keep moving every 6 months or every year, and they have to change schools and change neighborhoods and keep readjusting to new environments and new people all the time. That is toxic as hell. It affects the kids emotionally. They have emotional problems. They wet the bed, have nightmares, stuff like that. Then once you move, like in the process of moving, you may have to move in with auntie so and so and uncle such and such, but uncle such and such is not like really their uncle. That's just auntie so and so's boyfriend. Or maybe it is your blood uncle and your kid's great uncle, and he's being inappropriate with your kids while you have to work. And, the family hides that, including you, and nobody tells anybody that this fucker is molesting your kids. The kids are the ones who are deeply affected by that. They have to grow up with that, and they are witnessing a situation where the parents failed them. They failed to protect them, and so they grow up with emotional issues. A lot of kids grow up to be promiscuous, and they don't seek mental health or mental health services to help cope with the trauma of being molested. And a lot of kids grow up suicidal and they don't say anything. Also, one of these little boyfriends that you may have met, you leave them over your kids while you go to work, and he touches them or molests them and stuff. So the kids are the ones that have to deal with that emotionally, regardless if you broke up with the boyfriend or beat his ass or whatever. They're still stuck with that trauma and emotional issues that have never been addressed. Maybe you're the kind of mom that just keeps your hair done and keeps your nails done and makes sure you dress up and make sure you're clean, and your kids are walking around with secondhand clothing on. I mean, it's nothing wrong with thrifting. I do it sometimes with, summer clothes and school clothes. I found a few things like interview clothes for myself at the thrift store, so I'm not downing that. But if that's all you do for your kids and you have better clothes than your kids do, then yeah, that could be a little bit of a toxic issue. Also, if you're one of those kind of moms that just kind of let your kids out to play, like lock them out of the house and tell them they can't come back in until the street lights come on, and then they run into whoever they run into and meet whoever they meet, and then they start getting in trouble and going to jail or getting arrested or getting kicked out of places and doing things around the community that they shouldn't be doing, and you just don't have a clue where they're at or who they're hanging around with. That's a definite sign that you don't give a damn. And they don't realize it as children, but when they grow older, hindsight is always 20/20. They're like, yeah, my mom just kind of let me do whatever I wanted to do, and I just had to figure out. I wasn't taught anything. I had to figure life out, or worse yet, I had to figure out how to figure it out because I wasn't taught shit. That's toxic. I feel like if you're reading all the time and you decide to get up and go to school and learn and feed yourself education wise, you're eating, but then your kids are not eating. You don't pour anything into them. They don't teach them anything. They're just kind of wandering around trying to figure things out, and you're doing all the learning. You've never taken the time to address their comprehension problems or their functional illiteracy or teach them financial literacy. Because a lot of times grandparents are no different. A lot of grandparents who are like baby boomers or Gen Xers, they don't want to grow up either. A lot of grandparents are just as toxic as the parents. A lot of grandparents voice their disdain for their children's behavior and the treatment of their grandkids. And some grandparents just voice it in front of their grandkids. I don't want to be bothered with you either. Call your mama. Call your mama. Tell her to come get you. I don't want to be bothered with y'all. And I don't know how, grandparents and parents think that this is going to affect the kids, because a lot of times grandparents are supposed to be like that big matriarch, that's the voice of reason, and kind of be there to as a cushion to fall on when the parents aren't really shit. But if the grandparents are on the same type of time that their kids are on as far as parenting their grandchildren, then where do you go, right? Because to me, there's just nothing worse. There's nothing worse than looking at a 65-year-old, 72-year-old woman, 55-year-old woman, 48-year-old woman, or man, for that matter, and you're old as hell and you don't want to grow up. You walking around wearing true religions and you have a pot belly and bird legs and gray hair, flashing money with gold chains around your neck, or you're an older woman and you have tight stuff on, whether your body is snatched or not. You have all this extra long hair down to your ankles like you're a young 19-year-old, and you turn around and your face looks like the fucking crypt keeper or something. Like you are old as shit. And a lot of Gen Xers don't want to grow old. They don't think they're supposed to. I'm not saying wear like an old lady, like the orthopedic shoes and the old house dress and stuff like that. Yeah, you can dress in a contemporary style, but there are flattering clothing for people who are growing older, and people who, you just grow old gracefully. Embrace your gray hair and your old age. Stop trying to compete with teenagers. Your time is past, and the wisdom that you have picked, or supposedly should have picked up as a teenager or in your 20s, you should be able to pass that down to your kids and your grandchildren, especially if you see them messing up, or if they're depressed, or things are not going well in the household. You should be able to check your kids on how they're raising or parenting your grandkids so that they don't make the same mistakes. And just a little side note, that whole little thing about, well, black women don't take no shit, black folks don't take no shit. Black people take plenty of shit, especially off their kids. Their kids are engaging in all different kinds of behaviors, talking back to them, telling them all kinds of things about how they need to cook, they need to do this, they need to do that, and parents just sit back and be silent. Parents or grandparents act like they're scared to say anything to them, to their kids or their grandkids. They just let it ride. They don't check things that they should be checking early. They don't check it. Kids that cuss, they think it's funny and cute. Kids that twerk and do all these adult kind of behaviors, they think it's cute until it's too late. But yeah, that's my little rant about why, few things I think why people have disdain for single moms. But what do you guys think? Just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.